Welcome to the Success Vitamin Talk. With me, Pritha Dubey. I help grow sales revenue through the science of selling. And you are tuned into Season 3.
I am very pleased to have you here, Ketki. So, welcome to the Success Vitamin Talk. It's a pleasure to have you
Thank
here.
you. It's
Uh,
absolutely lovely, and I'm so excited to be here, Pritha. Thank you for inviting me.
so am I, and I'm sure that all those who are watching us and listening to us, they're also going to be equally excited to be listening to you. Before we move on with my questions and and get all the answers that I have been so eagerly waiting to ask you, um, how about I just request you to first introduce yourself? So, who is Ketki? Let people understand and know who is Ketki.
Yeah, thank you. And that I have to say that's usually one of the most difficult questions because there is just so much to say, over the years. But the way I like to define myself is, um, with about almost 3 decades of experience, I think where my main work has been working with people. I worked with people, whether I was in HR when I was in the corporate, and thereafter as a coach, right? So I think what I now do is help leaders who are good leaders, right? They're doing a great job. They're already doing well. They're good leaders, but now they want to move into being inspiring leaders. And that's really, where they make not a difference only to their own lives, but when they're inspiring, they also influence and impact a whole lot of people who are working with them in their teams and the other people around the world who observe them. Right? So I think that's the shift now I help leaders make.
Wow.
And that's, yeah, I find that extremely satisfying. And what's happened is in the last 15 years of my career, I've spent a lot of time working with CXOs, senior leaders, right? And hundreds and thousands, actually, I would say, of them. Also, by virtue of the fact that I used to help, organizations hire CXOs as well at one point in time. So what happened was I got to see the behind the curtains kind of version of those leaders, and how they operate, how they think, what works for them, what challenges that they have, and what are the asks on their leadership, and how what are some of the difficulties actually, and how they have to play up to the so-called image of being a leader. So they're also under pressure. So I think that insight that I got has been what has really helped me work with senior leaders to move from being good to inspiring. So yeah, that's what I do.
I know. I think this is, it may sound very easy, Ketki. I think you will understand this. If I'm hearing it just from being a leader, if I hear this and if somebody says, good to inspiring, I may feel that, yeah, it's easy. Maybe I can do it. But I'm sure it's not that easy to become good to inspiring. Had it been, then we would have had a plethora of examples floating all around us of everyone being an inspiring leader. Having said that, um,
Absolutely.
how did you move into coaching?
So Pritha, what happened was, through my career, like I said, I've been working with people through my career, and I ended up willy-nilly, advising them, mentoring them, counseling them, supporting them in their thinking, in their career growth, in the challenges that they were facing, etc. And what I realized, as the years got long, and especially, in the second half of my career, I had people coming back to me and saying, you know what, Kate, you told me this, and this is what we spoke about, and this is how you mentored me or, coached me. And of course, back then, coaching wasn't really a terminology which was really prevalent. But they would say, this conversation really helped it change my career. And like, for example, one of the people who called me just very recently, he's now a CEO of a very, very large organization. He says, Kate, you helped me with that one decision and it changed the trajectory of my life, right? And I realized that slowly and steadily people are coming back to me and saying, that's really the kind of, impact I had on them. And I said, this really sounds like something that could feel so fulfilling, and, that would keep me happy all through my life if I could impact people like that and change their lives. And so when I quit the corporate world, while there were various obvious options of doing HR and consulting, which I did dabble a little bit, but eventually I realized that the joy really was in coaching people. And by then, fortunately, coaching had already become like a known profession. Um, in the sense that it wasn't popular, not many people were aware, but it had come into India as a profession, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky enough to get into that
Mm.
about 10 years ago. And here I am helping people, and like you rightly said, good to inspiring might sound simple, but to be a good leader, you have to be good at what you do. But to be inspiring, you have to be that. So there's a difference between the doing and the being, and that's the real gap between good and inspiring.
Beautiful. I think that's a very, very valuable point you just made, that there is a big, big distance between doing and being. I think doing comes from a lot of aspects, from our past experiences and background and many things, and knowledge, education. Probably there are a lot of things
Correct.
that we are doing, but it also, but being is something which requires a lot of introspection, isn't it? Just go be inside, uh, probably just find yourself out from within, and first decide who you want to be, and then maybe whatever we decide to do would become much easier. You just said that, it is so fulfilling for you to be coaching such great leaders. I'm sure there are a lot of examples that you have got, but if I ask you that, what is that, those probably a few, one or two, examples or anecdotes that are like on top of your mind, where someone came to you with some requirement, some need, some desire to be, and went through a full transformation journey. It kind of changed whosoever they are. So uh,
Sure.
is it okay for you to, without taking names, to share some examples with?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. And you're right, without taking names, but I'm happy to share a couple of them. And like you already said, there are so many. But what top of mind immediately comes to mind is, for example, there's this leader I was coaching, and the issue with the leader was that he had just gotten promoted into his CXO role, right? And he was expected to, deliver on the year's targets and support the CEO in doing that, etc. And his predecessor was someone who had enjoyed a huge amount of credibility,
Okay.
and I think he had big shoes to fill, and that came with a lot of anxiety. So he was someone who was like a doer,
Hmm.
till he reached that CXO level, and his job was to get things done, manage the people, manage the work. It wasn't really leading them as much as managing them, right?
Hmm.
And when he became the CXO, suddenly he had these big shoes to fill, and there was anxiety, and there was shifting from being a doer to being the leader. And I think that journey where we were able to, use the philosophy that I use, that what you see of people, the typical psychological iceberg, right? What you see of people, the behaviors, their actions are really the tip of the iceberg, which is the 10%. But what really creates and generates and brings about that behavior and those actions are really what's happening, the 90% below the waterline of the iceberg, right? Your fears, your anxieties, your mindsets, your value systems, your belief systems, your insecurities, right? All of those play a role, and that's really, we had to like take a deep dive within,
Hmm.
right? And identify what's really coming in the way, what's really is the narrative in his head that's playing constantly. Because when your mind, you have 100% of thinking capacity, when 50% of that is taken over by
Hmm.
anxiety, then you're literally operating on half your capacity to
Yeah.
really deliver what you're delivering, right? So we had
Yeah.
to really free up that mental space for him. And I think so. We worked through his mental models. How does his thinking work? What is causing that anxiety? What did he fear would happen if he wasn't able to role model the same person who was his predecessor, right?
Right.
And so we went through this journey of him creating his own personal brand of leadership. He didn't have to be exactly the way his predecessor was,
Right.
and that led him to discover who he was as a person. And
Wow.
what could he bring as an authentic person? What could he bring to the table? And I think when he discovered that, there is so much that he has to offer, and slowly and steadily the anxiety kept dimming, and little by little we would experiment, we would to reflect, he would reflection, and he put in a lot of hard work, of course, and sincere, committed hard work. And so he actually within by before the end of his coaching journey, he already started getting a lot of recognition from his global managers.
Wow.
And now, incidentally, he's moved from his CXO role to being the CEO in waiting. So he's being groomed to become the CEO.
Wow.
So huge
That's
shift,
awesome.
yes, and very, very fulfilling to see that. And the minute his anxiety is shifted, automatically the entire organization below him could feel the shift in energy. There was positive energy, there was inspiration that they were getting through him, and the whole organization below him changed. And the buzz and the energy and the zing there kind of, you
Wow.
change. So,
I know these are wonderful anecdotes, and I think many of the leaders who are watching right now would be able to relate to these anecdotes, because I'm sure that these are those confusions, those dilemmas, those self talks that many of these leaders have with themselves, but probably they don't know uh, who they should go, who they should walk up to for approach, because somewhere they're also carrying this huge responsibility
yeah.
of being a role model, or projecting themselves as a leader. So somewhere I feel they feel that if I show my vulnerability of not understanding or having this huge duel within,
Yes.
maybe people will lose their credibility with me, or they may lose their trust with me. But I think
Yeah.
that is not the case. I think somewhere the leaders tend to forget that they're human also, and they're not demigod, and it's
Absolutely.
okay to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And
It's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned about vulnerability, because that's one of the things I did with the CEO. And I
right,
said, okay, go and talk to your people.
true,
And because I was there to support, the CEO was able to take that chance. I prepared the CEO. What will you say? How will you say? What can come in the way? What should the CEO be prepared for mentally? And then had a conversation with the team and
beautiful.
came back to say, oh my God, this conversation just completely opened up my perspective about what our relationship can be.
Sure.
And it didn't actually dent the relationship or the respect or the trust. In fact, being vulnerable got them close, and she said, now suddenly I'm enjoying a very different kind of relationship, a deeper relationship. So things just
Wonderful.
shifted. Yeah.
Wonderful. See, and I think something that you just said, that, the fact that she knew that you are there with her, which kind of gave her that courage to
Yes.
take that first step of
Absolutely.
showing your vulnerability to the team. This brings me to another kind of a thought that I've always been having, and I've been wondering most of the time, that
Hope you are enjoying the talk so far. You would also like to listen to Tanmay Dubey in our episode 5, where he shares how anyone can be an author in just 90 days. And now, let's get back to the talk.
who should be those people who should hire a coach? Is it only the CXO level who should hire a coach? Is there certain criteria that someone needs to fulfill, so that I'm asking this question from a very simple thing. Say if I am a leader, or I am someone, a professional, and I really don't know whether I need a coach or not, are there some ways that I can assess myself and know that whether I need a coach? Or is it like a universal thing that no matter who you are, where you are, what you know, anybody at any given point of time can hire a coach and needs a coach? What is the answer?
I'd love to say anyone, anywhere, anytime needs a coach. And to a certain degree, that is true. But I think more importantly, if you to talk about who would really qualify to be coachable, if I want to say, right? Because I think it's important that not just wanting to hire a coach because thinking that the coach will come and suddenly there'll be some magic that will happen.
Yeah.
Right? So you need people. So those people who are willing to put in the hard work, who are willing to commit to themselves,
Mm.
and more importantly, people who have aspirations, people who have dreams, they want to get somewhere.
Mm.
There is a drive, there is a need,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
That they want to get somewhere. And if they're willing to put in their force behind, they just need support and help, right? Those are the kind of people who are willing to take 100% responsibility for their journey, who know that they want to grow in life. They may not know where they want to go,
Mm.
right? And that's something the coach can help them with. They may not have a very clear goal, but the fact that they're not happy where they are, there is a discontentment with where they are, and they want to rise, they want to grow, create a brighter, better future. And it doesn't only have to be, by the way, I want to become the CEO, or I want to be, some fancy, TV anchor or whatever.
Yeah.
It just can be, how can I be at peace with myself? It
True.
could be, how do I be less anxious? It could be, how can I build stronger relationships with people? There could be anything that could be a need they feel in their lives, right?
Mm.
And therefore, it's not just the CXO. It could be anybody, so long as they are, like I said, committed, hardworking, take 100% responsibility. They could very easily hire a coach. And
Yeah, I'm sold, Ketki, here, and I definitely believe and understand how a coach helps someone get better. Like how you said, from wherever you are, you can definitely get better. But this also
True.
makes me wonder, why do you think people do not hire coaches? I have seen a lot of people who have a desire and they probably think, and this is something which I have seen more in women than in men. Correct me if I am wrong. They probably think that I know where I am and it's not a very acceptable state. I want to get better than this. They may probably even talk to, or they are probably following all these thought leaders and big coaches on LinkedIn and social media, and they are appreciating all the good words and everything that are coming from these people. They're listening to podcasts, yet they are not hiring a coach. What do you think stops them from hiring a coach?
The biggest reason I have heard from people is actually two big reasons, and there are many more, and I can share that. Is, when the fear or uncertainty is way greater, or the resistance inside is way greater than their desire, their aspirations, their dreams, then the fear wins. Then the skepticism wins. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. Is it the right time to do it? What will people think? If I get a coach, which means, I don't know how to, work on things myself. So those things then come up.
True.
Right? And I'm saying, if you really, all these fears, if they are going to be governing your life, then you will never take that next step.
True.
It's, so as they say, right, there could be 100 reasons to say no, but you just need one deep reason to say yes to yourself.
True.
Right? And if you're able to find that one reason to say yes to yourself and say, I need to do this for myself because I deserve to grow, I deserve to fulfill my dream and aspiration, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. When that strength of desire comes in, and that courage and willingness, right, to go against the grain, to be okay if people, question, have doubts, so long as you believe that you want to grow and you want to do it for yourself, people do it. But otherwise, there's also a tendency for people to blame other people. They don't even realize that they could be the ones who need to do some work.
True.
So often I've heard, my boss is like that, my colleagues are like this, my company culture is like this, my family is like this.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to start hanging blame on different people, not realizing that it's you who needs to change. So many reasons why people, therefore, and all these are so convenient excuse. If you ask me honestly, These are excuses that lazy people give, who don't want to take charge of their lives, who don't
Right.
want to be 100% responsible, and eventually they will find themselves stuck where they are. And when they're older, they will look back and they'll say, life was so unfair to me. So, and I'm going to, I love quotes. So I'm going to say that again. Give you another one, which is also by Carl Jung, which is that, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will guide our life and we will call it fate.
True.
So
So
we
beautiful.
make that unconsciously what we're doing conscious, so that we are in the driver's seat. We lead our life not by default, where it takes us, but by design, where we want to go. How can we craft our life that we
True.
want? And this is totally possible. And I just gave you a couple of examples of how a couple of lives got transformed. And there are other people. So I've had people who had procrastination as an issue, who had imposter syndrome as other issue. They were stuck in their level of growth, not knowing what is not allowing them to get unstuck and grow, right? So a lot of those things that people have come up with, and wherever people were willing, like I said, to commit and do the hard work and have the courage, take the chance on themselves,
Hmm.
it works.
All those who are listening to us and all those who are watching this, I think Ketki made it very, very clear, loud and clear. She shared, she expressed that message that you want to grow. It's good. You have that desire. It's good, but then you will have to take charge of it and you have to take responsibility of it. If you are putting yourself in that blame game or in self pity or allowing your inner narratives to control you, and then you're being plain lazy or you don't have the courage. You're just too scared of even attempting to take charge of your life and get better. Then maybe the next best thing you can do is stop complaining, stop cribbing, and just be happy wherever you are, because you're not going to grow. So it is as harsh or as hard it may sound, but it is true. If we look at all the examples of successful people, the reason they are successful is only because they took charge of their life. And they did not sit in one corner and sulk and waited for all the things to get better in their life and suddenly everything falling onto their lap. That doesn't happen. We all know that. It is just that we know a lot of things, but we apply a very few of all the things that we know. So I think with Ketki's words, if you are getting encouraged, it would be a good time for all of you to really, just shake yourself up and just shrug your shoulders and throw all that baggage off and take charge of your life. And trust me, in order to do that, you will need a guide, you will need a mentor, you will need someone who can show you that light. And that someone is a coach in your life. So I think you should definitely look into that direction and think about it.
Thing is also, I want to mention that it's not just for people who are in a bad place, right? We have Bill Gates who said coaching is important. He got coached.
Yeah.
We have Eric Schmidt of Google who's got coached. Alan Mulally of Ford was doing well. They got coached.
Yeah.
Right. So, you don't have to be in a bad place. If you, so long as you want to get into a better place than where you are.
Sure, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And none of these guys, the best part, all the examples that you have given, none of them have ever shied away from admitting that they have a coach.
Not at all.
At their level, look at the humility. Look at that humility. At that level where everybody else is looking up to them and wanting to learn from them, they are humble enough to stand at the center of that limelight and announce to the whole world or admit to the whole world that, boss, I also have a coach.
Yes.
So I think it is something which is, a coach is a guide, a friend, someone who is showing us the light to get better. And as absolutely right that you mentioned that it's about getting better. It is stopping us from probably falling. It's making us grow. It is making us walk, and it is making us progress. Thank you so much, Ketki. It was really a pleasure speaking with you and understanding in depth about this whole concept of coaching, and I believe that all those who were listening to it and watching this, a lot of us would have also got a lot of clarity in terms of what coaching actually is and why it is important for us. So if anybody has ever been thinking or wondering that why should I hire a coach, I'm sure that you have got all your answers from Ketki that why you should hire a coach. Now, the decision is for you, and as she has been, repeatedly saying that it requires courage. So now the question probably that you need to ask yourself is whether you have that courage or not. So Ketki, thank you so much for being on our podcast. It was really really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. My pleasure, absolutely.
Thank you. See you all in the next episode. Till then, take care and God bless you.